Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Hope you're having a great day. Certainly got cool around here. I hope you're taking the time to be able to jot down some notes. Grab a pen and a piece of paper. I love to be able to answer questions. Folks, if you've got a pen or you've got a moment, please write down my email address. It's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. If you go to Ustream, just like it sounds, Ustream, and register at for the Meltdown, you can come chat live with me in the chat room. I'll ask questions if you've got them, or I'll answer questions if you've got them, and pose them over the air, and that way you'll get an immediate response and things will move a little bit quicker. If you've got a question that you'd like me to field personally after the show, you can reach me at 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. If you're outside of the Houston market, you can call me toll-free 877-705-2646. Option 0 gets you to a live voice, and you won't get trapped in the phone system. Now, it's been a pretty interesting day, and we're working on some pretty large transactions. People that are just ready to get some of their money reappropriated, put it into the rainy day account. You know, used to be, when I was young, that we had passbook accounts, and I talk about passbooks because if you're, say, in your 40s, maybe early 50s, or older, you remember a 5.25% interest rate on a passbook account. And your tax bracket didn't really seem to matter as much back in the day. Go back 30 or 40 years, and they were just transactions. I remember in the early 80s when call features came out in the bond market. And at the time, 1981, the the triple net return on a municipal bond was throwing off a little over 13% tax-free. Today, of course, you would do anything to get those kinds of returns. And so for me, the settling back in the price of precious metals is a buying opportunity. I don't mind buying on the way down. There are too many fundamental reasons why the market will respond, and when it does, you'll see major growth. Now, when I talk about major, what is important to you? Is it to protect your wealth? Is it to see it grow? I need to know what your goals and objectives are. Everyone's got a different thought process as to what they want to do and how they want to proceed doing it. And of course, depending on your age, will determine who is influencing those decisions. So for me, I'm watching what gold's doing today. I can tell you it's been about $7 cheaper. I can tell you it's been a little over $4.50 higher. And so the gold market in paper is up $8.30. It's about 0.75%, not quite. The wild ride seems to have been in the silver pits. It always seems to be there. And the market's been almost 2% higher. It's been approximately, for where it is right now, about 1% lower. So we're in a high volatile trading state. And it's important to understand when you listen to somebody talk about, quote, the spot price of metal. There are a number of different companies that will list different pricing because of the delay they do or don't get depending on the platform. Now, I know that sounds like mumbo jumbo, but when I go to buy something for a client's position, whether it's for a large client or a small client, and you talk about the spread could be a couple of percentage points. In other words, the bid-ask spread in the silver pit, if you're trading in futures, that's 5,000 ounces of paper. If you're trading in that market at the moment, there is a natural 10 cent spread, $20.67 on the ask to $20.57 on the bid. And while it doesn't seem like a lot, 10 cents represents a 0.5%. So these trades, while you're trading at $100 or $1,000 or $5,000, don't really equate to a large sum of money. Get it up to 100 million. And all of a sudden that 0.5% starts to matter. Now, I talk about it often, and I like physical ownership. I want you to own the metal. I want you to be able to touch it and feel it and put it in a safe. So many people use a safety deposit box, and you're taking your currency and converting something that you're worried about in the form of paper, and you're putting it into gold and silver, but then you're putting it in the bank. And of course, some banks don't open on Saturday, and if yours is one that does, and the emergency occurs during banking hours, you can get in there and you can get the material out and go to a pawn shop or a coin dealer, whatever you need to handle, and you're liquid. You've got cash again if that's what you needed to convert to. But things change, and they sometimes change rather quickly. And so if your emergency occurs at 4 in the afternoon on a Saturday, odds are you don't have access to your safety deposit box. And now the rainy day account that you've been putting money into isn't there for the rainy day. And you wonder, what are you going to do next? Now, I can tell you that the demand for central bank gold seems to be waning a bit. But the dollar continues to lose value as the world begins shifting out of dollars to look for another safe haven. Folks, the safe haven that's always been the dollar was strong when this was, quote, a creditor nation. Today it's the largest debtor nation in the world. And depending on who site you're looking at, the spreads are different, the marketing costs are different. There's so many companies out there, there may be 6,000 or 7,000 different options when you're talking about buying, selling, or trading. So for me, I want you to understand why, if you're buying in quantity, why would somebody pay $2 more per ounce for silver American Eagles over just silver rounds? No legal tender value on the round. The silver dollar, the U.S. American Eagle, is a dollar face value. It sells for over $25, and ultimately you've got $20 worth of silver. So understand right up front, you're paying a premium to get into the physical market. Now, if you're somebody whose net worth is substantial enough that you could consider buying a $140 million painting, certainly the largest single item to go off at an art auction ever. Last night, the art sale that I was talking about over the past couple of days yielded $694 million. That's a huge number. And considering the company that made the money doing it, if they're working on a net of 10%, they bank $65 million. It's not a bad night's work. So diversification is the key. And I look at a pie and I decide that based on my income, there's a certain bite out of that pie that I want to take advantage of. Now, I look at a lot of different areas of the market, and I look at different websites. I can tell you firsthand that Starbucks is going to pay $2.7 billion in a fight that they've had with Kraft. I can tell you that the S&P is at its record high. I can tell you that Bitcoin has all these wonderful little nuances, and there are people that have made a lot of money from the founding of Bitcoin. But Uncle Sam, we know because of Edward Snowden, is watching everything. You look at a portfolio and you decide that there's a certain amount of risk that you're willing to take. And predicated on the risk determines how much money you put in the art market, or how much you put in precious metals, or how much you put in the stock market. Those situations are for you to determine with the professionals that you're dealing with. For me, I want to own complete sets of Morgan silver dollars. They don't have to be third-party authenticated and graded. You can own them in low enough grade that knowing the authenticity of a certain item based on the weight or the strike or the positioning of the letters, the numbers, lots of different ways to confirm what values are. I had a gentleman in here yesterday afternoon after the show was completed who had some silver dollars. They were Morgan and Peace silver dollars. And I examined them closely because the client wanted to know which coins were worth sending off to get graded. Of 6 or 7 pieces, he had 2 that were worth sending off seriously because the return on the investment for the grading fee would have been worth it easily when he had the coins third-party authenticated and graded. Wasn't a situation where he came in looking to sell. Point blank, I would have been more than happy to buy them. I was going to try not to yawn today. Mornings come early around the Bogus house. Folks, there's reasons why there's certain things that you own and you hold on to. I made the reference yesterday to the class ring. A 5-year-old child isn't old enough to wear daddy's high school class ring, but when he's 25, God forbid anything happened to dad, mom would be happy that the ring was still around and would be able to pass that on to the child. Same thing is true with coins and precious metals. Being involved in the market, that's a no-brainer. The right area of the market is left to the mind of you and to me. I'm going to tell you what I like based on trading. You're going to tell me what your goals and objectives are so that I can meet the trading criteria to what you want to accomplish in your portfolio. Now, I have lots of clients who love wheat pennies. I've got lots of wheat pennies, bags of them. And if you buy bags that are dated in the early 1900s, whether you get to the 19 teens or you get up to the 20s or 30s or 40s, the prices change, and they change rather drastically. The difference in a grade point, one grade point, can literally mean the difference between $10,000 and $100,000 or more. And being able to subject yourself to dealing in material that may be esoteric, finest few known, 10 or less. Owning that kind of material really does matter. And it matters because you're talking about future generations of collectors and investors. Now, I've coined the term, no pun intended, collectovestor. And a collectovestor is somebody who wants to follow the rules the government laid out under Public Law 99-185. That is the law that Congress passed and that President Reagan signed, authorizing the Treasury to begin making gold coins again in 1986. Done in fractional sizes of a tenth, a quarter, a half, and a 1 ounce coin. You can build these sets and you can actually run into some serious problems trying to build a complete collection. It's the same thing that's true of the Morgan silver dollar. You can own an 1893 San Francisco silver dollar that is barely legible, smooth because it's been used, and it's still a coin that you'll spend a few $1,000s on. It fits the portfolio if part of what your goal is to make money down the road. It is the key coin in the Morgan silver dollar set. There's no other coin that trades for the premium that a 93S does, depending on the grade of the coin. And so for me, to tell you the coin is PCGS or NGC graded, that means it fits into a price guide. And based on the price guide and what you've got to work with, what your goals and objectives are, determines whether or not it's a coin that we even want to discuss. Why would we want to discuss it? You want to talk about rare coins because that market's been around for hundreds of years. And for all of the gold bugs that literally get in their mind that they want to own gold because the price is so expensive or it's more valuable, those are all worth mentioning. But what's worth mentioning more than anything is that central banks rely on gold to back up their proven reserves. And if they start selling off gold, then they've got to find something else to back it up. Otherwise, the bank becomes at risk. And when a bank is at risk and there's blood on the street, all of a sudden things will begin to change all over again. So for me, it's a different motive than what it may be for you. I'm looking to be able to put wealth away in such a fashion that when I hit 70 or 75 years old, I'm able to reach down and acquire the amount of capital that I need. Now, one of the other articles I read online today was a woman who had a $2 debt and it almost became $90,000. And that's because of interest, late fees, the compounding of all that interest, and what ended up happening. Folks, things can get out of control rather quickly. And of course, if you had a debt that you didn't want to pay, and all of a sudden there was an unscrupulous creditor that got a hold of it, you could get whacked for tens of thousands of dollars, which is pretty much what this article is about. Now, I can tell you on another level. I mentioned silver dollars, and I've mentioned the analysis of the 1893 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar. It's always been worth in the neighborhood of about $2,000 in the worst grade possible. You can barely read the darn thing. But those coins get gobbled up as fast as they come on the market. Get one that's graded Mint State 63, I can tell you in 1988, 89, the coin would have sold for in the neighborhood of 100 grand or 50 grand. And of course, every coin's going to be a little different based on what its characteristics are. I don't want to be confusing when I get down to that. But I do want you to understand that whether it's Morgan silver dollars, and you might look through the Red Book and say you love commemorative coins, 144 pieces make up the complete set. 13 of those coins are represented in the Republic of Texas currency, but in the Texas half dollars. There's a coin that was struck in 1936 to commemorate the World's Fair. Well, they started producing them in 1934. The government was a little ahead of the curve. And they decided they needed to make these coins available at the World's Fair in 36. The funds were to go to support the World's Fair. Well, the government decided to sell them for more than the 50 cents face value. And so all of a sudden, you've got somebody who's trying to come up with enough cash to get to a World's Fair, let alone buy gold, silver, or rare coins, today's rare coins or yesterday's coins. And ultimately, how you move forward and how you proceed are always in question. Now, I had some 100-ounce silver bars in here this morning, and you're going to pay a premium of about 50 cents an ounce. Doesn't seem like a lot of money, but that's a couple of percentage points. And so when I'm looking at markets, I want the bullion product. There's a reason to get it and have it active in your portfolio. But it's also important to know that there are companies that are out manipulating markets, and literally that's what they do to make the bulk of their living. They'll go into an area of the market that seems undervalued or depressed. They'll stick a lot of money into it and they'll force the prices to go up. Well, guess what? What goes up must come down. And that's how it ends up playing out more times than not. Today's one of those days where I looked at the currency markets and I can tell you point blank, the dollar's having a weak day. W-E-A-K. And if you compare it to the world currencies of the market, only the Chinese currency is up along against the dollar. So as we went on air, there was a major change in economics. And so for me, diversification is always important. It's not a gloom and doom presentation. It's how you go about protecting yourself. And folks, I can tell you point blank, till I'm blue in the face, there's a track record, a history. People love beautiful coins, whether it's the toned coins or the blast white coins. And you can do all the research you want to own the key stopper to any series. And if it's the last one and you've been working on it for 5 or 10 or 20 years, you may get tired of hearing it, but I can live with that because I gave you accurate information. Now, it's from that standpoint that the information is disseminated and put out to the system. Whether you find me on Facebook, whether you come by the store, whether you find the website, which is thegoldexchange.net, whether you follow those links or not, what's going on out in America is scary. And knowing that the middle class is still under pressure, we're still being squeezed. 70% of, according to CNN magazine, 70% remain in the lower income bracket. We're talking about the middle class. 70%. 4% became high earners. The remaining 26% rose to middle or upper middle class. So the reality is that for the most part of society, we're losing ground. And things will change, and they will change frequently. It's okay to have change. I happen to be one who supports it. The ultimate is that at some point in time, you may need to barter with this stuff, or you may need to just convert it to another currency. Because let's face it, the dollar's on its way out, and people tell me, oh my God, there's so many dollars. Well, redeem them. Don't keep hoarding cash. If you put cash in your safety deposit box, it is illegal. Purely illegal. So we look for alternatives that make sense. And this is just one of those alternatives, because when you make sense, people are able to get involved more in your product. The more they get involved in your product, the faster the market moves. And the faster the market moves, the sooner you get into profit. It's not complicated stuff. What gets complicated is man trying to outguess other men. That's simple. So for me, I simply want to be able to say, it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to have to do some research. It's okay, because when you get right down to it, at the end of the day, it's how you present yourself from sounding like you're a kook. Ultimately, owning rare coins is critical. Owning sets of coins, that's paramount. Because when the time comes to break a set up, you may decide you want to keep it intact, or you might want to break it up. Either way, it's a tangible asset. It's always got a value to it. That's why I like gold and silver, platinum and palladium. And I want to own high relief St. Gaudens 1907. I want to own coins that other people want, which is why I have a business, and we're in the Humble area. You can call 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit the operator, hit 0, and that way you won't get trapped in the phone system. Now, I got to tell you, this is really the time to get serious about it, because as we approach Thanksgiving, things will change in the economy. People will start spending more money, and whether they do it on their credit cards or not isn't the point. The point is that it will be another change of how society has affected government. And so I don't want that to happen either. Now, if you've got questions or comments, please email me, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. You can send me a text. The text number, 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. You won't get caught in the phone system. It'll be quick, simple, and easy. And folks, I'm telling you right now, this is the time, because it seems like the markets are fairly dead. We're approaching the holidays. People don't want to have to think about business. Business people have had a long year. I look at the markets and I see nothing but buying opportunity. And the fact that the market could go lower makes the buying opportunity that much stronger. Now, I talked yesterday, and I think maybe the day before, about Rand Paul wanting to step in and slow down the nomination of Janet Yellen. Now the Tea Party is going to get more involved, and the constant chaos is going to raise itself up. We're going to find ourselves stuck with Ben Bernanke even longer, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. It's a disaster waiting to happen because the disaster is already occurring. I want to own precious metals, because if the government thinks that they're going to walk away from quantitative easing and the economy is going to heal itself, that's craziness. It can't heal itself like that. And I can tell you that with the way the markets are trading today, the ratio in gold to silver is now moved up to almost 62 to 1. It's at a record. We're talking about almost 5 times what it's ever been. And the platinum to gold ratio, now 11% platinum is trading over the price of gold. Those are positive facts that you need to keep in mind, because as we move forward into next year, we still got some year to go, obviously. But ultimately, things are going to change, and they will continue to change. And you're going to see Korea make another ploy, an attempt to kick the sand in the face of Big Brother. And what we're going to continue to find out is that Edward Snowden didn't tell a lie. He exposed fact that makes us worry. It makes us worry that our own government is watching everybody. Well, folks, I think most people have probably agreed with that for a very long time. If the Fed has a basic interruption, it will create a problem. And I don't think there's any economist alive that would argue it, because that's part of what makes the world go round, is the fact that the Federal Reserve is out there watching monetary supply. I read all the time, and I read that things are getting better, although I can tell you that in the Humble area, that there are businesses that have been closing down. There are businesses that are suffering pullbacks, 50, 100% pullback. Well, if you get too much greater, you're in bankruptcy. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. Businesses are on the brink of bankruptcy. Folks are truly concerned about finance. Are they going to have a job today or tomorrow? Are they going to see the pink slip? What are you going to buy to protect yourself with? Folks, PCGS and NGC graded coins maintain liquidity in a market that may not always seem like it's ready to deal with you. That's why certain people buy St. Gaudens $20 gold pieces or Liberty Gold. And they do it in such a fashion that the material itself is old enough that it follows the criteria that Reagan set forth when he decided to sign Public Law 99-185 and keep the coins numismatic. That's just collectible. If you're buying into GLD, SLV, or any of the other ETFs that are out there, you're buying into the share value, not the gold or the silver that's supposed to be on hand to back the ETF. That's the way it works. And the custodians are only required to be liquid in the metal. The metal's got to be on site twice annually. So it gives them time to move things around. And you know what? If you're managing a few tons of gold, 50 tons, 40 tons, 100 tons, and you decide you need to dip in and grab a few ounces, nobody's going to really notice it. Well, the auditors will notice. God notices. And so for me, talking to you today, I can tell you clearly that whether you're talking about a market that's worth 100, 200, 300 million, or you want to spend a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand, there's a reason to keep the business at home. You don't have to cross the state line anymore to do business with somebody in Oklahoma or any other part of the country. There are dealers here that are capable of handling these transactions, and we're all going to work pretty tight because that's part of the advent of the internet. So it's a great time to shop. It's a great time to understand if you're still looking at your paper invoice and it's all wrought full of, quote, stock, the stock market at 15,772, man, we're right up against the top, the all-time top. And when I look at precious metals, they're depressed or suppressed because, frankly, everyone wants to run into paper because the stock market seems like the place to be and blah, 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 blah. The dollar is weak. A weak dollar should mean higher gold and silver prices. It should mean higher oil prices. And after yesterday, seeing oil collapse, here we are back up around $94 a barrel. It's the time to be serious and understand that whether it's Yellen or anybody else that's being tentatively nominated to run the Fed, they all have their own agendas. That's why it's important to take the time jot down notes, look at what you've got saved. If you've got money in money market accounts, or you've got it in CDs, you may have it in your company stock plan, your 401k. You may have some coins, and it may not be so serious that it's even really something that's lit the light bulb. The time to take action is now. And if you want to reach out for me, you can call the store at 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Or you can visit the meltdown.com, click on the banner ad for the gold exchange or for Eagle Numismatics. Now, Eagle Numismatics is my rare coin company, and I've owned Eagle going back to 1996. Folks, Eagle deals primarily in rare coins. And if you don't understand them, it's a great idea to give me a call. You can do that toll free at 866-705-2646. That's 866-705-2646. If you're one of the next 5 callers, I'll even throw a free silver American Eagle in if you come visit and sit with me and you do business with me. I'll give you a little bit of lagniappe. That's what they call it over in Louisiana. So it's a good time to do things. The holidays are coming. That's when the markets tend to get pretty lackadaisical, and you can pick up more percentage points by everyone's lackluster performance and sitting back on their hands and get involved. Be a bit of a contrarian and look at the different ways I share building these portfolios. Understand what other companies are promoting. That assists us even more. It's a great time in this market. And when I look at the real estate market, I start to shudder again. I hear that real estate is getting gobbled up, but I also hear that there are some great values out there. Go on HCAD. Go to, whether you're listening in the Montgomery area, whether you're in Brazosport, or whether you're over on our side of town and you're in Harris County. There are different ways to do this, and everyone's got their own opinion, but this one has worked. It's worked since 1996. If you've got any questions, give me a shout. Email me, brett@thegoldexchange.net. Click on the banner ads. Any of them will lead you back to a way to reach out for me. And of course, you can always call toll free outside of the Houston market, 877-705-2646, option 0, so you don't get trapped in the phone system. Now, I'm going to cut the show short a little bit today. It is always important, and I always talk about Texas Children's Hospital, the Downs Clinic, and the Ronald McDonald House. The Meyer Center is located off of the Fannin campus now. Dr. Ostermeyer and the Downs Clinic literally are so busy with so many different families that they really need your assistance. Now, I know that the people in the Philippines are on our hearts. Those of us that are praying for recovery, they've really taken a horrible shot. If you're looking for an organization to tithe to, a regular group of people that uniquely care about children, please consider going to themeltdown.com, clicking on the banner ad for the Downs Clinic. The information is totally anonymous. Your name, address, city, state, zip, phone number, all that information is kept away from me. I don't really care. The amount you donate is on your heart, and I appreciate anything you do. The Ronald McDonald House at Texas Children's Hospital is on the 4th floor. It has 20 rooms. It takes care of, it houses 40 to probably 70 people a night. It's so that families can visit their children in the middle of the night, or if they've stayed up all night, they can go rest for a few hours. Please, if you can provide a hot meal for 40 to 60 people, call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. You can go to the banner ad and make a donation. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to help accommodate your desire to bring in hot meals or to provide a tithe or a donation. I appreciate the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and the volunteers at Texas Children's throughout the community, at the medical center, and all over the world. I love children. I'd do anything to help them out. So please consider that as you move forward in your day and into the weekend as we get to the end of the year. And some of you make that one big charitable contribution. It's all tax deductible. Folks, I appreciate you listening today. Have a great day. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be 2 in the afternoon before I get there. And so we've pretty much lost this week for our early and our afternoon shows, but we'll try and get there for Friday. Have a great day. God bless you. We'll see you then. Thank you.